All right, everyone, welcome back. So, this is week 6, the final driveway of the first Omnium. So, a bit of background on how I'm coming into this race. I did 375 miles in total last week of riding, and I already had about 240 miles by the time I was racing here. So it was definitely a lot of fatigue in the legs, and my goal going into the race was just to try and stay with the group, not get dropped, and see how everything felt. I mean, I had extremely low expectations on this day, and you'll see that for the majority of the course, I actually end up staying a lot farther back than I generally do in these races. You'll also notice my heart rate is a lot lower than you usually see when I'm at the race and racing.
Trying to stay nice and even on the power.
Yeah, that's my commentary on the bike at the time. So I think the reason my heart rate is a little bit lower is kind of that cardiac drift concept, that when you're really fatigued, your heart rate will actually slow down a bit. But I'm still kind of figuring out what that all looks like, and you will see my heart rate go a lot higher here. So we're still staying at the back of the group. It's definitely a large group. This week was a big one, but nobody's really pushing super hard at the beginning here.
We'll see how the group takes this corner, sets of corners, I guess I should say.
Yeah, so the corners here at the top, the shop house loop isn't one that we do very frequently, so going up and then taking 2 sharp rights is a little different than the more gradual kind of long bends that we have around the other corners. So these are definitely sharper corners where people stop pedaling, and if you were to keep pedaling, you have a risk of pedal striking and stuff. And some of them got a little hairy, honestly. It wasn't uncommon for folks to be saying, hey, I'm on your inside, on your outside, stuff like that. So the group definitely wasn't super comfortable going around those corners without a little bit of conversation.
This guy let a gap open up. I don't want to stay behind him. Oh, that is so cool.
So what you're seeing there is like this white fluff that was covering the track this day, and it was really crazy riding through it. But it stuck to your water bottle lids and things like that. It was kind of fun. You could almost inhale it though if you weren't careful, so breathing through your nose on those sections was useful. Yeah, I'm just kind of staying with everything, trying not to be surgy. You can see there are only
Going super wide.
3 or 4 people.
People pulling the gas around the corner and then just back way off.
Yeah,
You
so
don't need to pedal.
So what I was saying there is that folks would go pretty quickly around the corner, but then as soon as they got around the corner, they'd kind of sit up and look around and see what was happening.
A little bit of wind. No, it doesn't look windy at all.
So I thought maybe part of what was happening is that we were going into a headwind And if we were going into a headwind, that would explain why we slow down as soon as we go around the corner.
We're going to see
Right.
an attack on the right side here. From Zachary, yep. Called it. Yep.
I don't remember if his name is Zachary or Jeremy. Sorry about that. But the guy in the Stork always does a good job throwing in some attacks for us, keeping things interesting. So he tried to go on the right there. So going up that hill, I jumped up a few positions, just kind of maintaining my speed as we went over the top. So now I'm kind of halfway up the pack. So when we head down this descent, everything kind of strings out, speeds are high, but we're still a bit wide just because it's such a large group. Lots of people freewheeling in the back. All the people on the front still have to press very hard. And that's normally where I am, right? That was a pretty narrow line on the right-hand side there. But there's a little spot for me to slot in here. Yeah, you know, since we went downhill, it's almost feeling like a group ride kind of dynamic here, where everybody's just kind of riding but not going too crazy. And there we go on the right hand side on the Stork again, driving up to the front. We'll see if this gets the pace any higher. It does for a bit, but then everybody backs off again. It's preem lap. So this climb right
Did you
there,
say a 3D frame? Huh. You got it. Nice. There.
that hill right there is interesting, as is that corner. It's this, it feels steeper on the shop house loop than it does when you're turning right. Or if you're even going straight, because if you're going straight for like championship loop or those kinds of things, it's part of your acceleration towards the flats going towards the finish line. Whereas when you're coming up that hill and you're just about to turn right again, has a different feeling to it for sure. So we've got Colby passing on the right hand side there, going up to the front of the pack. And it's definitely stringing out up at the front. So I am not really conserving energy right here, but I'm trying to make sure there aren't gaps opening up in this line, because this is a really quick way to have two separate groups. That almost happened there. We have the guy in the Bulldogs uniform closing that up for us. There we go, and our friend in the Mechanism jersey. He's headed up towards the front there.
Good job, Austin. Well done.
So we almost let a gap form there. Stitch it right back up. It's more or less 2x2. You can see there's a small gap to the next rider behind me. So if they've got to close that up. Looks like they get some help with that. We're kind of slowing up a bit too.
So we got a bit of split in the field right now, kind of 3 different groups.
So I think I'm describing something happening up front that you can't quite see on the camera.
I think we'll see the main group catch back on now. Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
On the inside.
So there was something that happened right there that was kind of interesting. I was out in the wind, not pushing particularly hard, but I realized, wait a second, let me fall back in line and stay in some draft here. And so I was able to kind of merge back in. I think what may have happened is I may have gone for a drink right there. I may have been out in the wind because I was getting a water bottle. And so, yeah, when I'm drinking, I'll often deviate from the pace line a little bit so that I'm not putting other riders at risk if I miss the bottle or something like that, getting it back into the cage. I think everybody did a really good job coming around these corners. I think folks were careful and took them quickly, but not with too much risk. I think there were only a couple of exceptions that I'd seen. So this rider, we'll give it a second here. It's going to be back in frame in a second. So Sonny is the rider in the green shirt and blue bibs here, and he's very tall, and so it was really great being in his draft. You can really feel the advantage you're getting there. I got kind of squeezed right here, especially with the paint on the left-hand side.
Squeezing!
Yeah, I probably could have called something else out, but it felt like it was worth mentioning what was happening there. so that the group didn't push farther to the left. So I eat a bunch of wind here on the outside, just trying to kind of avoid any hairiness of that situation of how close everybody was for a minute there. But things immediately slow up when we come out of the corner again. I'm feeling pretty good at this point in the race. We're about 15 minutes in, so I figure it's not unreasonable for me to be putting out just a little bit of wattage here. If we would have gotten separation here, that would have been great. Had a bit of a breakaway. I know this guy in the mechanism kit is quick. You could see the week before he had basically led me out for a whole lap while we were trying to catch back onto the group. So if he's going for a breakaway move, I'd be happy to join him. We get up this hill, but there's not much to do after that. We're still too close together. So he's running off the front a bit. I'm thinking I might be able to follow him. We are definitely stringing out the group here, but there's no real separation. So at this point, I'm kind of letting him go. Night Owls is taking up the chase.
Off the front, do you, Daniel? On the right.
So I saw Austin gunning it right there, which is awesome. And that really animated everyone. So they took up the chase. I put in the watts that was necessary to keep things together. So they're going for this preem lap. That's kind of the goal of this move, it seems. So Austin is leading to chase down I think our friend in the mechanism kit, unless he's already been caught, which it looks like he has been. I think he slowed down through that corner, and I think he's like third or fourth back here. Could be wrong though. Yeah, there he is. So everybody's together here, and folks are going to be contesting the preem, which is like in 200 meters there. So what I just called out was this rider directly in front of me who kind of deviated from his line to the left unexpectedly. I had to brake for him, which affected the riders behind me. So just kind of a bit of surprise there. Going up the hill again. This race, I felt like it went by really quickly. And I don't know why that was. Maybe it was because the course was like, it felt very dynamic. You had those slow corners at the top. Yeah, ended up in the paint a little bit there. Just a little too far to the right. And that was better than being in the crack. We're letting the two guys off the front kind of dangle at this point. Mr. Mechanism's going for it again. miles is still well represented. And then when I see Andy join in, at least I think it's Andy, I figured, this has a breakaway of that's potentially really serious, so I try to close up that gap again. So it all stays together. Speeds are still high though.
Getting twitchy out here.
Look at how the group is just super wide and kind of bunched up behind us in the rear view cam. Very interesting.
Whoa, you're cutting me off, man.
So I was saying that to the guy in the black shorts on the Stork bike. His line was farther to the right than it should have been, farther than was necessary, and than is polite, I guess you could say, for racing line, right? So I was able to brake and not make contact with him, but it just felt unnecessary. That one might be worth rewatching to see if my concern was legitimate or if it just was something I felt in the moment. So folks aren't really chasing this down. Got another punch off on the left-hand side there with a couple riders. And everybody responds to this one. It's really interesting once you've gathered speed on a section like this where there's no wind, you're out of the wind because there are a bunch of riders in front of you, how few watts it takes to stay going 28 miles an hour, right? Once you hit the hill, that's done, but it's a really interesting situation. So we've got Sergey ahead of me here. And then as we go around this corner, we have Mark slot in ahead of me as well. Great to see him up front here. So, yeah, I shift over to the right here because it's the more central line, right? I know that we have this bump in the paint coming out to the right when we get up here, and so I don't want to be the farthest on the left. I made that mistake a couple laps ago, right? And so being in the middle or on the right hand side is a lot more comfortable for me. I'd rather be on the inside when we go through this corner as well. You have to cover a shorter distance, but I will take the outside if that's safer or clearer. Mark's in a good spot just behind me. So there's a big punch here, and I think it's from Night Owls because you saw that one Night Owl kind of drop anchor. So we all had to go around him to make up those positions. You can see there's somebody way off the front there. Pretty much single file here. So how many laps to go? Is it 2 laps to go?
2
Okay.
laps to go.
There we go. I call it out. On the course too. Another time up the hill. All more or less staying together. Okay, and we've got another Night Owls who's kind of slowing off the pace here. I dodged right around him. Yeah, okay, let's take another look at this because that's a really interesting move that I did, right? And it probably didn't look very safe, but I'll kind of explain what I was thinking. So this Night Owls guy on the right, he's going a fair bit slower than folks now. He's all the way over on the right-hand side, almost at the paint here, but he's also pointed straight at the other apex of this corner, right? So if I were going to stay to the left of him, I would need to be in the paint myself. So by going to the right, I have so many more options. I could go into the grass, I could go into the paint on the right, but mostly I have wide open road there. And so switching up my line and kind of going from his left side to his right side, even though it's this very fast transition, I think it's definitely the right call to make. And everybody who was following me then had this space as well. So rather than needing to slow down immediately and just kind of back up the group, I was able to kind of guide folks who are following me through this safe line. And then that Night Owls guy, he was still going a fair bit slower than everyone who was on my wheel, so he had to catch back on a little bit later there. So we're kind of 3 wide at this point going around the corner, but I like the fact that I'm towards the front. We're looking around, wondering what the next moves are. I'm curious if...
You want to do a break?
Yeah, if anybody wants to try to do a breakaway. I thought maybe Joel and Daniel, you know, I think they're both interested in trying to do something like that. And this guy in the blue jersey ahead of me, he often likes to try to do a breakaway as well. And then we've got Cooper Bridges on the left. So, fast folks have come to the front. And so I thought, well, this might be a good chance to get away soon. But nobody's putting in super big watts right here. But then the pace picks up a little bit. And on the left-hand side, that is 1 lap to go. So everybody goes, okay, yeah, this is it. Let's see what we can do going up this hill. Basically, this is the last technical corner of the course, and then we've just got the back hairpin, like that 180 degree, but you can take it so quickly that it doesn't slow you down, right? It's just kind of controls the group so that you can't sprint around it. So we've got a gap here, right? And so it seems like this group with Cooper, Daniel, Andy, this would be a great group, and some guys that we could stay away from the pack with if everyone were so inclined. Austin is there too in the mix. So my thought here is, okay, if we want a break to happen, it's only going to happen if we're pushing really hard and taking turns, keeping this above everybody's threshold. So I take the front here because I'm feeling fabulous, way better than I normally do at the end of these races. So you're seeing my, kind of 400 watt efforts. You're seeing how it's stringing out the group. And so my thought is, if Daniel and Cooper and Andy want to work with me and keep it at this high of a pace and take turns making things really hard, then we'll be the first 4 coming across the line. That is not how things play out. So when kind of my turn on the front is over, everyone starts putting in these massive watts. I've only got like 600 something. Everybody else is, doing 500 plus watts to my 200, and it's 7 wide, taking up the whole road here. So this was really interesting. The sprint happened 250 meters from the finish line. And then folks were not going their fastest across the finish line there. So that's the race. That's the video for it. But it was, I let everybody out. And that was not my intention. It's not what I thought was happening there. I thought we had a small break that, we could keep it single file by keeping the watts really high. But, it's how it goes sometimes. I was still super happy with how the race went because it was, I'd already done 300 miles, that day I wrapped up 300 miles for the week. And so I considered it a successful race for sure, even though it was one of my lowest finishes of the season. So thanks so much for listening, guys, and hope you'll have a wonderful week. Talk with y'all soon.